All right, the Miami Dolphins beat the New England Patriots 31-17. So close to my prediction. I said 31-20, but it is all right. It is okay. The Miami Dolphins come away with a win. I am Kai Chen Chisholm. To my left is Ant. He's got a Jimmy Butler shirt in the background, which means that there can only be bad because the Miami Heat are on this stream, and we know that they're the worst franchise in Miami. Ant, how do you feel about this game?
I feel good, man. I know what type of time you on with the Miami Heat. I remember last year, and you were damn near close, so I will not roast you for that take. But I feel great, man. Obviously, I was a little concerned going into the game. They might have another, look-ahead game looking into KC next week, kind of like we saw in the Carolina game when they got off to the slow start, obviously with Philly the week after that. And you can recover from 14-0 against Carolina. I'm not sure they were going to be able to do that against New England, especially since they've been playing well. They obviously got down 7-0, but after that, they kind of never really looked back. And yeah, it was close for the most part, but I never felt when it was in doubt. Anytime they needed to make a play, someone stepped up. So I feel good going into next week.
Yeah, I'm chilling going into next week too. Like I was, sitting here saying that a game like today that we should go ahead and win, that we should walk away with, that it shouldn't be a problem. I mean, it's a division game, so there's some lumps and bumps, but at the end of the day, you come away with a win and you get it going. Jalen Ramsey makes his debut as a Miami Dolphin, and I mean, what a way to make your debut, getting an interception. I mean, if not for a block that he couldn't just get over, that could have gone for 6. I mean, it's a hell of a start for him. How do you feel that he did besides the interception?
Well, when you had the video that went out on Twitter this morning with his return, his type, that is probably the most hype I've been all season. And we're talking about a team that scored 70 points. So I was certainly looking real forward to it. I was a little concerned because I didn't really want them to rush him back because, I mean, they talking about December and you already, I guess, pretty much a month in advance. But they said he was healthy and he certainly looked it today. And when he got that pick, yes, I was a little mad he wasn't able to take it all the way, but it was hard to not just feel the incredibly great for him because you knew that meant more to him than just a big play in the football game. So it was awesome to see.
Captain Canada, you're joining us now, and then Alex finally has his camera on. Mr. Canada, how do you feel about today's performance by the Miami Dolphins?
All right, so bear with me. My voice is kind of gone, but bear with me. Honestly, it was a great game. Tua had the terrible interception, and since then he balled out. I mean, to me right now, like if Tua can just get rid of that one bad throw every game and a half or so, like on average, it feels like if he can just get rid of that, like that's all I'm really worried about with him. The offense was cooking, considering that we had so many backup offensive linemen and like no run game essentially because of that. So we were using the pass game as a running game type thing. Like the offense was good. Obviously started off a little bit slow and then the defense performed well. Obviously you're going up against a Patriots offense that has no real kind of weapons or offensive tools or skill set realistically. So it should have been an easy performance, but they made it look easy and they did their job. So that's what I thought. And then honestly, in general, I just thought it was a weird game. Like you had the pick, you had the Tua like fumble when Mostert like didn't know he's supposed to grab it. Like it just felt very odd. And it wasn't like we were able to step on their throats till the end of the game, but in general, just kind of what you would expect. Like I felt relatively comfortable. I know it got a little bit closer at the end when it was 24-17, but to be honest, I never felt like in danger of giving it up, which is crazy to say as a Dolphins fan. Like usually I'm on edge no matter what, but for whatever reason, I was pretty comfortable the whole game and we kind of did what we need to do. And we just got to get through this game, and which we did, and move on to Kansas City in Germany.
Mr. Bubba, Tua Tagovailoa is better than Tyler Hero, and the comparisons from Roy Shepard about a year and a half ago no longer exist in comparing them as people. This is the best game that he's ever had in his career against the New England Patriots. Threw for 324 yards, 3 touchdowns, and that one bad pick. A trend of the past 3 being 250 plus after the previous 3 being not that great. I would say that I've been saying multiple times that the question is no longer about the quarterback. It's just about other parts of the offense. How do you feel that Uno did today?
I just would like to preface everything that I'm saying with Tyler Hero stinks. But after that, Tua played fantastic. Tua has that one boneheaded interception that we talk about. It's unfortunate that his interception numbers are up more this year than years prior. He kind of missed Waddle on a few throws, but other than that, thought it was great. To see Waddle and Tyreek both over 100 yards again Felt very, very good to get back to kind of that duo versus just Tyreek. And there's that one play every game, man. As much as I want to harp onto it for the one interception every game, there's one giant touchdown to Tyreek every game that he has nailed. So, like, the whole doesn't have an arm thing, like, I know we all know that narrative is BS, but, like, people still talk about that. We saw what Stephen A. Smith said and all this stuff. Like, that was a 50 to 60-yard throw in the end zone.
Always mid.
Perfect. Like, Tua's playing fantastic, and he might not win MVP because of some of the stuff against the better teams and the narrative that's out there now that we can't beat good teams or whatever. But he is the perfect quarterback for Mike McDaniel. He's the perfect quarterback from the system, and he just reminds me a lot.
Mike Dick Daniel.
Is that what I said? Sorry, Mike McDaniel. But pause. But 100%, Tua just keeps reminding me of that Matt Ryan MVP Falcon year. Like, I think that's what Mike has kind of found here. He's going to maximize Tua, and I kind of view him in that light now versus before it was more like the Jimmy Garoppolo type. I see MVP Matt Ryan. I don't know if he'll win it. Mahomes is doing crazy stuff. I think Lamar deserves to be in that conversation, but I don't think Tua deserves to be out of that conversation by any means whatsoever, especially if he has a good game next week against a good Kansas City defense, a very good Kansas City defense.
Who are missing pieces as well, which is the craziest part. I mean, they're missing Nick Bolton, who just went on IR, I believe, yesterday. But still, I mean, they've been killing it. Steve Spagnuolo, if you follow sports history, you know he killed it with the Giants, led them to 2 Super Bowls, and then just continues to kill it with the Chiefs. And I want to say first off, you know, I've been a very big and notorious hater of Jaylen Waddle and his catching abilities over the past 2 years. He dropped 2 passes today, and I was so ready to continue to scream and yell and holler. But then he also made a ton of huge catches. He had his touchdown, 7 receptions on 12 targets, 121 yards, leading the team over Tyreek Hill in yards. How do you feel that Jaylen Waddle did today, and how do you feel the offense in general did in getting everyone involved and not just fucking Tyreek's down there somewhere?
So I'd like to say that you've personally ruined the Jaylen Waddle experience for me, because now every time I see him come across the middle of the field or go downfield and leap in the air to catch a ball that he does not have to jump to catch, I think of that video of you doing your impression of it. If you guys haven't seen it, it's on the Basement Sports Twitter somewhere, so go check it out.
Like, listen, bro.
But I think of that video of you because it was.
It muted you. I'm trying to find the video. I thought it was that one, but it's not.
Oh, my computer glitches when someone puts a video. Sorry if I was.
No, you're good.
Talking, but it was the perfect representation, and we certainly saw that several times today. And the part that concerns me about that the most is because you're making yourself liable to get popped in the air, which is a very dangerous play. We saw with Tyreek Hill on that one first down catch he had. You're putting yourself in a position to land weird or stuff like that. But outside of that, I do like Jaylen Waddle. Made some big plays. Did have a couple drops, too, that I felt like was more his fault than Tua's because he still got 2 hands on it. But Tua still did his thing today. He found Cedric Wilson for the touchdown, which was nice to see him target someone else in the goal to go, which we don't see often. He had Durham Smythe for multiple catches today. So it was nice to see him spread the ball around. I know your name says Tyreek for MVP. I don't care if either one of them get it, but it's games like today that make me believe Tua is more deserving because he's not just spamming Tyreek. He is moving the ball around.
I mean, he is spamming Tyreek. There's moments where he's not, but like today, 13 targets. You could be, if you want to be like a stickler, you would be like, well, he had 13 and Jalen had 12, so he's spamming him. I hate people like that, but you could say it if you would like to. Bubba, I want to get your thoughts on the running game today. It seemed like Jeff Wilson Jr., although he ran for less, was more efficient in his carries than Raheem Mostert. Raheem continues to fumble the football. I'm just trying to find stuff to pick on. But he continues to fumble the football, and if not for a forward progress and a whistle blow, that would have been another fumble, which would have deterred yet another drive. I mean, do you think that the Dolphins, if we don't see more Achane here soon, if they feel like maybe he's not going to come back, might try to find another solution? Because although Raheem's running well, it's starting to become a little bit of a problem.
That second part that you just said is interesting because, I want to see more Achane, and today was a day that you clearly missed him. There were some plays that are clearly meant to go to the outside that Wilson and Mostert has the speed, but sometimes doesn't look that way compared to some of the fastest guys on the field. But those are plays that are clearly supposed to be for Achane. I'm very excited to see him back, but he is a very, very small back. Wouldn't surprise me if he's the skinniest running back in the NFL. He's got the same body type as Tyreek pretty much, and he's playing running back. So even when he does come back, I don't think he's ever going to be this workhorse back. I think he's always going to be kind of what we have him in this role unless he beefs up severely. There's a man over in New York who made a very, very poor decision by signing in New York because he's not better than Breece Hall. And he's apparently on the trade block. I doubt severely that the Jets would trade him in division, but if there's someone to add, that's who to add.
He's ass though.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I would, but again, I will say this: the Eagles, obviously, we've seen what happened last week with the 15 penalties. The NFL came out and said that they completely missed. And if you want to do your deep diving onto the lead official in that game, go ahead. He's just born and raised in Pennsylvania, has a business out there, and was banned from all college football games. But we got a lot of calls today. Raheem Mostert fumble. If that rule is reversed, we're all sitting here really, really pissed. There was no whistle on that play, and the ball was punched out. He mishandled a perfectly fine handoff from Tua and essentially fumbled. I'm sorry, not essentially. He essentially fumbled twice this game.
Yeah.
It's not good. And he had a fumble earlier in the year, and he had some fumbles last year. So he is our best running back, and he is our smartest running back when it comes to the system. But I absolutely thought Jeff Wilson was way more effective today. And it's very good to see Jeff Wilson back because he had a very nice short stint with us last year before he got hurt. But again, he's just another one of our running backs that has injury problems and will continue to have that. Salvon Ahmed had that incredible 3rd and 15 screen pass run. But other than that, we know what Salvon is. So I wouldn't mind adding, but at the same time, I'm sure they're very content with where they're at. This offensive line, man. I mean, we were already worried about it, but like we have backups who are hurt now. Kendall Lamb got hurt. Robert Hunt
came back.
is not good. I know he came back, but still, he's just playing hurt. Like it's not good. I'm concerned about it. And it's another testament and credit to Mike and Tua that they were able to weather that and handle that. And Juju Smith-Schuster, I can't believe we haven't talked about this yet. He's such a loser. Granted, he's a rich loser, but he's a loser. That was ridiculous. But in terms of the running back stuff, I mean, we're always going to be a pass-first offense. I thought Mike really wanted to run the ball today against New England, and it just didn't work, and he kind of let Tua loose. And outside of the bad pick, again, Tua was absolutely perfect, as per usual. But the run game's going to be a thing because, as they like to say, run game, physicality, that travels towards the end of the year. You would like the run game to be peaking towards the end of the year. And right now it's trending towards like it peaked towards the beginning of the year. Granted, we've got injuries everywhere, especially in that room. So we'll see how it is. I'm kind of with you. I would like it. You know, we haven't been as balanced as we were when we started the year.
Yeah. And you mentioned referees there, and that's where I was going to go next because, well, and also to touch on the Juju point, initial thought, I was like dirty ass hit. After looking at the replay, I kind of walked that back. It was a very legal play. Just obviously we get emotional in situations like that. Hope that Brandon Jones is okay. Hope that Devontae Parker is okay. I know that he's no longer a Dolphin, but I'm one that thinks that wishing upon injuries or being happy about injuries is ridiculous. So hopefully he's okay. Captain Canada, referees. I would like to say we got, I believe, a fuck ton of makeup calls today. I mean, a ridiculous amount of makeup calls where, like Bubba just said, that should have been a fumble. We got absolutely lucky that was forward progress. I know it's the rule, but that should have still been a fumble. On top of that, I mean, that's Salvon Ahmed. Clearly, we had an illegal man downfield. I mean, that's not even a question. We got some, pass interference, some holding. There were calls where it was like, all right, we are definitely getting a makeup game. A makeup game, one game too late, but a makeup game. Do you think that we'll see kind of something either balanced or something similar in terms of, weighing on one side of the ball next week against the Kansas City Chiefs in Frankfurt?
It's the boring answer, but I do think it's going to balance out like law of averages. Like you said, we got makeup calls in a way. I just thought some 50-50 calls went our way this game, which we got none in the Eagles game. And now hopefully into Kansas City can just be a proper game because you don't want to win games on officiating. You want to lose games based on officiating. Like really, like anytime you're talking about officiating, you're taking away from the game. It's just not what you want to do or hear or watch. So hopefully in Germany, and going forward, it can just be about our play. Because honestly, it's like talking about officiating is tired. Like it's very boring. It's very annoying. Like it is what it is, and it's going to be brought up because if there's brutal missed calls, I'll be yelling about it too. Like trust me, I will be yelling, swearing, like all that stuff. But it's like at the end of the day, that's not what you want to be talking about. So yeah, I think we got a bunch of 50-50 calls go our way. Like you can see it both ways. Like with the whistle, I mean, I don't think it should have been PI like in the end zone, probably holding though because he was tugging on the back of his jersey. Just like we just got the 50-50 calls go our way. And to be honest, it felt like it's been a while since that's happened. But I'm not going to complain now that happened to us. But I'm also not going to say that Patriots fans are invalidated if they think the refs played a role in the game in terms of like the calls going our way. But like I said last game, like I think a lot of Dolphins fans who aren't just going for like baiting on Twitter, like I don't think anyone blamed the Dolphins losing to the Eagles solely on officiating or on the officiating at all. Like I come out and said like, yeah, the officiating was bad. They were not even clear. Like they were not a reason you lost. Like officiating is not a reason you lose games. So it's like, I think again, no sensible Dolphins fans who aren't again just on Twitter for that shit. Like I think we all realized, we lost because we lost, and you never want to blame officiating for anything. So hopefully going to Kansas City is just a well-called game and the better team wins. So yeah, I think again, it's such a boring answer, but I do think it's going to balance out basically.
Yeah, I mean the Patriots had 7 penalties for 45 yards. We had 3 for 25, and it felt like a poorly officiated game once again. But at the end of the day, like as mad as I was about last week, I there's certain things that could become frustrating this week too. But when it's your team, I guess it goes your way. Bubba, I feel you're about to say something.
Yeah, I don't think there was like a disparity like as much as there was last week with the number of calls, but I think the type of calls we were getting, I was like, oh, I don't know about that one. Like we might not have gotten as many. Like Philly got a bunch of calls, but I hate to say this, and I really don't like talking about officiating, but if y'all remember the Patriots dynasty, how they got every call, like the Chiefs get every call. Like the Chiefs get every call. It's an international game. This is a showcase game for the NFL. So you would like to think that this game's going to be officiated the right way. I know that the NFL wants this game to be exciting. So I would like to see them kind of let the players go a little bit. Again, it's a showcase game, 9:30 in the morning, different country. Probably two of the 3 most exciting teams in the league this year.
Probably the 2 most exciting teams.
Right? Yeah.
I like the Eagles are definitely a better overall team than us, but I think that the Chiefs and yeah.
So, I mean, I would like to think that it is going to go that way, but if it's going to lean anyway, it's going to lean Mahomes and the Chiefs. No doubt.
Do we know if Miss Swift is going to be in Frankfurt next week? Because if so, we're fucked. I just got to say. Anybody know anything? Anyone have like a Swift tracker?
I don't have any inside sources, unfortunately.
And you always got something.
We need to get
we've talked about Taylor Swift more than I care to ever talk about already this show. So hell no, I don't give a shit.
Listen, man, if she's there, we're gonna lose. That's what I gotta say. It's like inevitable now, apparently. That market for the Dolphins and the Chiefs next week is going to be huge. Germany is a pretty big market, and I've said it a couple times on the show. The Chiefs do have a partnership with my favorite German team in Munich. So they have a partnership, they have stuff. The Dolphins have fans there, so this should be a big game and a big market game. And how do you feel going into next week now that you've had the hangover from the Eagles game and getting this game against a division rival, going 2-0 against your division rival? As a matter of fact, how do you feel about that now?
Well, first off, y'all are way nicer than me. I mean, Alex brought up the point. New England's been getting calls for 20 years, and now y'all want to sit here and admit that the Dolphins may have got a few this game, which maybe not, but they ain't making up for the Philly game. They're making up for 20 years of bullshit when Brady was there. But anyways, going into the next game versus the Chiefs, I am a little disappointed that it's not in Kansas City solely because I think Tyreek Hill would have went for 300 yards in that environment. I think it would have been absolutely nuts to see. But regardless of where the game's at, he's still going to want to ball out against his former team. But I'm nervous and I'm cautiously optimistic because I feel great about this Dolphins team. Not a lot of people do, given the history of this team. They want to be cautiously optimistic. I get that, but I feel great. But if you go into the bye losing against every single above average opponent you played, that's not a good sign. The Buffalo game wasn't even close. The Philly game was a lot closer than the score, but it ended with the score not being really close. So at the very least, they need to be competitive next week, or I'll start to change my tone on this team. But of course, if you walk out of there with a win, you'll be sitting at 7-2. Is it going to be going
top
into the bye? You got to feel, yep, of course. And if you want the bye in the playoffs, which is my goal at this point, I mean, I will be out of this world excited if they beat them. But at the very least, you got to compete, or my attitude may start to change on this team.
I think that this is a very winnable game. I know that I wouldn't say crazy to say that, just because I think that we know what this Dolphins team can do. I think we're all kind of in the same, boat. And the defense has gotten much better, and I want to touch on that in a second because they've been playing, way, way better. But I think this is a winnable game. I think they can do it. The Chiefs have had a couple, I wouldn't say a couple. They've had multiple really close one-score games this year. So I think anything is possible for the Miami Dolphins and the Chiefs in this game. Defensively, and it'll be one of the final things that we touch on, I would like to shout out one of the defensive players I think is doing really well lately, and that's David Long. I think we all thought someone who had an immense talent, but obviously was dealing with injury issues, comes over to Miami. One of the first things he had when he got here was an injury, and it was like, okay, that's just fucking great. We just got this guy who has injury issues with another injury. He's been playing lights out, I feel like, the past 3-4 weeks, and has been showing a lot of what we felt and hoped that he could do, especially from the point of view that we needed a linebacker. That's a horseshit call for the Jets. How do you feel, Mr. Canada, about the defense? Who's a player that you think has shined thus far in the past few weeks?
Well, David Long really came on strong, actually. Like you said, I thought he started to come out. Really had a good game. But Bradley Chubb, he's got a lot of flack for his play, and honestly, recently he's been playing good ball. I can't lie. It seems like when him and Jalen Phillips are healthy, like they help each other a lot, which makes sense. But I'm not gonna say you want to see more from them because they've been doing their job. But it's like he's finally starting to break out of this where everyone's kind of memeing him and saying, where is he, all this type of stuff. And the contract obviously comes into play.
Don't rope me into the memeing him. I've been out here.
I won't. I'm just saying in general. But Bradley Chubb has really come on strong for the last 3-4 weeks now. He's been really solid, really good. And now he's starting to turn some of those pressures and pass rush win rate into actual sacks and into actual big plays. So it's really nice to see from Bradley Chubb. So that's who I would say on the defense who is really starting to step up. Obviously, Jalen Ramsey hasn't been coming on the last few weeks. He's obviously, this is his first game, but he obviously had a great one. And then I can't wait to have him and X on the outside with Cater looking as good as he does on the inside, because Cater is not an outside corner. I think it's pretty safe to say that at this point. But, man, when he's on the inside, able to use his physicality and his ability to come down and tackle, he is really, really valuable and can be an impact player from that position. So I'm so excited for this defense to have the X back. Javon's going to come back. Him and Deshaun Elliott are much better than Deshaun Elliott and Brandon Jones. I love Brandon Jones, but he's just not a fit in the scheme, or he struggled to fit into the scheme. So when Javon Holland, Deshaun Elliott are out there with all those corners, you have David Long playing better. Jerome Baker is what he is all the time. Like, he's just kind of there, at least to me. He's good in space. He struggles against the run. We all know who he is. And then when you have JP and Chubb, it's like, it's kind of what you expected from this defense if we can be fully healthy. I think getting healthy by the time shit matters is the biggest part of this team, because when we're fully healthy, I really have nothing to pick at with this team. But obviously when your O-line's going, like when your O-line's going to shit, when your safeties and corners are beat up, like it's going to look worse than it should be. So I think health is going to be huge. But yeah, on defense, it definitely would be Bradley Chubb in terms of the guy who has really come on the last few weeks and has started to kind of turn it around. You're muted.
Thank you. And it's a team that you think has turned it around, or a player you think has turned around for this defense.
A player that I was kind of going to say Bradley Chubb, but I know Jay just talked about him.
Everyone's still my person, bro. I've been out here defending him, protecting myself from the bullets of Royal A. Shepard and Juan Cardona.
I'll speak to the opposite on Chubb then. He has pissed me off since the day he stepped foot in here. You gave up a first-round pick for this man and immediately gave him a max contract. Now, I'm not going to give him too much slack for last year, right? Because it's hard to get a guy in the middle of the season and expect him to be elite immediately. But I thought he was straight trash. And the reason it pissed me off even more is because I always felt like he was the last guy to jump on the pile. Everyone else would do 90% of the work. And he'd basically get an A on the group project for doing no work. And every time I saw him sitting up there dancing for being the last guy to jump on the pile, it really frustrated me. And we saw a lot of that the same to start this year, which was even more frustrating because now they got his guy in Vic Fangio, who was making me think that, hey, maybe that's going to allow Bradley Chubb to be elite. And we didn't see that to start the year. But now I think he's got, 3 straight games with a sack, and it's him doing all the work, manhandling sometimes 2 guys at the same time to get to the quarterback. That's been really exciting to see. I'm very curious, though, what you guys think about Agba. I know he seems a little bit frustrated with his lack of role, because that's a guy that I was super high on when he had the monster season a few years ago. Do you guys think he's going to be on this roster by the time the season ends?
Traded.
By next year, he won't be on the team. At the end of the year, he'll be on the team. But by next year, if it doesn't happen at the trade deadline, definitely in the offseason, he won't be on the team.
I'm team trade people. When they when they upset me and piss me off, I'm team trade people. So, I think we could see it. I think that the Dolphins are going to make a deadline trade. I don't think that they would go quietly into the night with this. I would be surprised. Bubba, a player on the defense who's caught your eye the past 2 weeks.
Deshaun Elliott, I think, has been really, really good. I think he's been better than advertised. And with Holland out, I was a little bit worried about it. Looked good, looked solid. I know Brandon Jones was decent. He doesn't get all the playing time in the world. And to kind of Ant's point on Chubb just a little bit, not to harp on him. Chubb gets sacks. I'm looking for like the Myles Garrett level sack. One of them, Mac Jones, quite literally ran into him. And after Trent Brown gave up on the play. And then he comes up here and he goes like this. And I'm like, all right, bro. All right. Like, I get it. Like, it counts. And to Kai, you brought up this point too. Jalen Phillips is in the same boat because right now Chubb's doing more than Phillips. I know Phillips got 1-2. That was all right on like a down that, like, again, like it's when you get into these obvious pass situations and then the sacks come, it's nice, but you would kind of like it in a more crucial spot. But I got to give Bradley Chubb some credit. Like, the numbers are there. Next week's a big week for the defense. Vic Fangio, his whole style was copied across the league, specifically because of how good he did against Patrick Mahomes. So now he gets that matchup against Patrick Mahomes, someone he's very familiar with, someone Chubb is very familiar with. So I'd like to see a big game out of those two. Long has been absolutely fantastic. I think we need a linebacker more than anything on this team. Wilkins was better today. Sometimes with the run stuff, it kills me, but you got it. Like, Christian Wilkins is getting after the passer, and I know sometimes we don't want to see that all the time from a DT, but I like it. I respect it. He's been better than the start of the year. Overall, the defense has just been a lot better than the start of the season, and having back-to-back good weeks from the defense is very nice to see instead of this constant up and down. I don't know where Xavien Howard is. I'd really like him to come back because I'm so sick of seeing 33 on the field. It is ridiculous, but I completely understand wanting to have him at 100%. He's been dealing
33 didn't play too bad today.
But again, it's Mac Jones and the worst receiving room in the league. Like, I'm not going to judge him based off that. I'm still remember last week, man, like with him especially. And Cater, I'll be honest with you, I'm a little sick of saying that Cater's just not being put in a good position because eventually you just like to see some improvement, if that makes any sense. Like, I understand that he really should just be a slot corner, and I'm totally in agreement with it. If you've been playing boundary corner for 8 weeks now, I'd kind of like you to be a better boundary corner today than you were week 1. And I think in some aspects, he's a little bit worse. But Jalen Ramsey is a dog, man. First half off a meniscus injury, you force a fumble against a veteran running back, lay the hit stick, you bait Mac Jones into an interception. Like, that's the difference between Eli Apple and Jalen Ramsey. But besides the obvious game plan, Eli Apple has no idea what's going on. None. And Jalen Ramsey has such a good idea of what's going on. He's baiting quarterbacks into throws. Like, we are looking at the opposite end of spectrums of good professional football players. And it's very refreshing to see. I love Jalen Ramsey. He's been one of my favorite players in the league forever. I like cornerbacks who talk shit. I think he's been obviously he went to Florida State, so he's got a lot of hometown fans here. But next week, man, is such a big
hometown fans.
Florida, you know what I mean? Like, I really do think that next week is such a big week, and I was talking about it with Philly, but a win against the Chiefs means more than just beating the Chiefs. If you're in real contention for this first place in the AFC, it would be really, really nice to see Patrick Mahomes have to play a road AFC championship game and see what that's not like.
The Kansas City Invitational?
Or whatever Nick Wright calls it, the Arrowhead Invitational. Like, I would like that to be in Miami. It's a tough ask, always playing against Patrick Mahomes and asking him to beat them, but if the defense plays like this, they do not have great receivers. They have struggled. They have a young receiver room. I'm assuming X is coming back next game because he seems like he's been closer and closer. Seemed like they wanted to save him for this game, maybe. Defense at full force. I would love to see Holland back out there, but I know it's like a head injury. I don't want to do it. I mean, Long and Ramsey ran into each other in the middle of the field. I was getting flashbacks. Like, that was crazy when Long got – David Long, despite – I know he's got the injury issues. That dude is made of iron. Like, the way he plays, he's trying to get hurt and hurt other people. So I don't really – I mean, he's flying around out there trying to take heads off. He's trying to hurt other grown men out there. It is not fun for David Long. It is a obligation. He takes very much pride in these big hits, and I love it.
It's not fun for David Long. It's even worse for like his opponent.
No, literally. Like, I mean, that dude, and he talks shit all the time. I mean, we thought Wilkins was. I mean, opposing offenses must despise Christian Wilkins. We know that players despise Christian Wilkins. We know Josh Allen hates Christian Wilkins. Now you add David Long and his shit talk, and then let's just add Jalen Ramsey to that. There's definitely no defense that talks more than us. To have to deal with Ramsey and Phillips from a shit talking standpoint must be infuriating. And then you got to go out there and try to guard Tyreek Hill on the other end of it. I mean, it's a lot of fun.
We have like different types of shit talkers. Like
Mhm.
Wilkins is like annoying. Like he's not like trying to cut deep or anything. He's just annoying. No. And then you have like Ramsey who's just gonna dog you and shit. And then David Long, who knows what he's saying, but we have different types of shit talkers too. So it must be so annoying to like have to play us.
Jerome Baker's talking shit on Twitter. I mean, everybody is. Like it's great. It's good.
That was a dig.
I gotta give some props. I mentioned him every show before we forget about this. I'm jinxing it right now because next week's going to be the game that comes down to Jason Sanders. I guarantee.
No. I knew you were going to.
He hasn't fucked up in a little while.
I'm tired of this church. That's a beautiful.
You thought we were past it? I'm sorry. You thought you were past it? There is no past it until we pass him to the unemployment line.
So the paperwork. That's cap. Totally cap. That means lie.
So, yeah. I love those videos, the WWE videos. They're great.
Uh-oh. Chinese.
I'm not going to bring that one up. I just want to say, Bradley Chubb, the past 3 weeks, 4 sacks. So, you know what? Fuck all of you guys. Fuck how you feel about Bradley Chubb, 4 sacks in the last 3 weeks. You know what the prize possession Jalen Phillips has in the past 3 weeks? Not 4 sacks. So, you know what? I need to replenish this because he went to UM and all of a sudden everyone wants to love him and, you know, not harp on him for being ass like he has been all year. But it is what it is. I will say for my player before we wrap it up here that I think has done a pretty decent job this year, or at least the past few weeks. I have to give it to him because we thrash on him all the time. Is number 55. You know, like Bubba said, he's on Twitter talking shit, but the past few weeks just hasn't been that bad.
No, he hasn't. And you know what? They talked about at the beginning of the year. I don't know who it was. Someone was talking about, maybe it was Holland, how it's a whole new scheme, like completely different from everything they've ever done the last 4 years. Longer, I'm sorry. Because after Brian Flores was gone, he came back, or Boyer came back and was running the same thing. So they haven't had to do new stuff in a little bit, and it looks like we might be starting to see them adapting, learning the change, knowing it. You know Ramsey's going to help with that because he's just such a smart vet. The last thing I want to talk about, Kai, is that we haven't talked about this yet. Tua Tagovailoa is 6-0 against Bill Belichick. I remember when that used to fucking mean something. I do. I don't know why no one's talking about it. I don't know why, but he has the best record against the greatest coach of all time. People said that beating the Patriots was a Brian Flores thing. It is not. It is a Tua Tagovailoa thing. That's what it is. He has come in since we drafted him and has now been 6-0, undefeated when we play with him against the greatest coach, against the team that won for 20 years, that buried us for so long. And I just want to say, it is really, maybe it's because I live in Massachusetts, but it is really, really fucking nice to beat the Patriots every time. It was really nice to wake up this morning and know we were going to beat the New England Patriots. It was really nice to go down 7-0 to the New England Patriots. By the way, Kirk Cousins tore his Achilles. That's crazy. I just saw that alert. Sorry.
Wait, he what?
He tore his Achilles. I just saw that from.
Are you dead ass?
Yep. With Kirk Cousins feared of a torn Achilles. Wow. He was having such a good year and he's a free agent. That is so terrible for Kirk.
No.
That's what makes it suck.
That is crazy. He needs to get paid again. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut myself off there, but that's pretty big news that Kirk Cousins just
did.
Jets fans are also in shambles out there. By the way, y'all see that Zach Wilson 4th and 10? He didn't even throw up the ball to give somebody a chance. Terrible.
Do you see the Giants run 3 straight screen plays to the same side of the football field in overtime?
Isn't it kind of weird now that our division is trash? Like, and we're the good team.
The Bills
lost
again last night.
Trash. Don't get me on a Buffalo rant. I've been having.
No, they're not trash, but they should have lost against the.
They should have lost the last 3 weeks.
They should have lost to the Giants too.
Yeah, the Giants. They got
Giants,
built out by penalties.
And who's the one in between?
The Bucks. If Chris Godwin has eyes.
Then they lost to New England.
They actually lost. I just love the narrative, right? Here we go. Okay, I'm
Touchdown